What is going on, crisis actors? Yes, I'm talking about you guys in the chat. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day today. This would have normally been episode 1121 of Pop Culture Crisis, but alas, that doesn't seem to be what is going on today. No co-host today as of this moment, so I erred on the side of not wanting to go live and just, canceling it, putting up a community post. And I'll probably delete this stream after the episode is done because it's not really meant to be consumed in the same way. I know you guys that watch the live chat, that watch every day. People expect something out of you, and it's actually funny because there was a comment left on one of the, it would have been on yesterday's episode, and all credit to the people that care enough to ask the questions, because it is a blessing to do something that people care enough about to wonder why you weren't there one day, but we didn't have a show on Monday, and somebody left a comment why was there no show on Monday? Well, we put up a post on the community tab that we weren't going to have one that day, and on one hand, I read that and I get annoyed because I'm like, ugh, gosh, why does it matter? Sorry, we'll be back the next day. But then I have to kind of reel that back in and be like, no, you are blessed and fortunate to have a job that is so cool that when when you can't do it or when there's no live show, that people care enough to ask. And that's why I'm going to, just go live today and do this, even though it's not a traditional episode of PCC. I had a bunch of topics lined up, but they're topics that I wanted to discuss with other people. So, it's not like I have the most amazing or thought-provoking opinions of all time. So I guess we'll talk a little bit about the passing of Peter Cullen, how it kind of connects to Tim Curry. I almost called him Steph Curry earlier. To Tim Curry, to Dolly Parton, why we as human beings mourn celebrities. And it's more of a discussion, I guess, that matters for people on the right. Because if you host a podcast like this in the pop culture sphere and your audience is right of center in any meaningful way, a lot of times, because the left has shunned the right from pop culture for so long, it's an understanding position for a lot of people that hold conservative values to be in, to be like, well, why do we care? You shouldn't worship celebrities, and you shouldn't. They're absolutely correct about that. But why should we care just because this guy who made a movie or sang a song died? Well, I think it's a fair question to ask when you feel like you've been shunned by the whole of the culture. But I think it also kind of ignores the fact that for many, many people, not just, left-wing people, but people from all political affiliations, they are moved by art. They love, whether it's movies, television shows, whether it's music, if you're a hoity-toity type and you like to go to museums and stuff like that, art serves a very important purpose in the world. And I'm not the most well-spoken person, never have been, never will be. I'm not going to be able to use the big words to describe why it's so important, but I do think that it is. And I think that, I had a conversation with Siaka last Saturday. We put that episode up, and we were just talking about how, conservatives ignore art and the importance of art at your own peril, because, whatever you think of the average celebrity, look at the amount of lives that, Peter Cullen, Tim Curry, and Dolly Parton, and so many others this year, look at the lives that they touched, the outpouring of support, the debate that they started up, as disgusting as it was about Dolly Parton and her political beliefs. That debate reaches a fever pitch because it corresponds to how influential she was to the culture, how influential all these people are to the culture. So maybe I'll leave the chat open today. A lot of times when I do my, my solo segments or stuff like that, I don't leave the live chat open because I get distracted by you guys. And then I start trying to answer your guys' questions while also trying to focus on my own thoughts. And since, my brain is like, my brain probably works at about half the rate of the average human brain. I'm probably an 80 IQ, right? I get distracted, and it ends up making it more difficult. But I'll leave the chat open for now, guys, and address things as we go. Yeah, so it is interesting, and we will talk about it. I do also have the article pulled up for National Treasure, director John Turteltaub. In an interview, it's not bad, but it does come off a little bit crappy when you just read the headlines about how National Treasure 3, which has been greenlit, can't really afford to avoid modern politics in the new movie. I guess the idea being that, they have to address it because National Treasure, which, by the way, if you are truly based in America pilled, you love the movie National Treasure. In my opinion, and I said this the other night, I think I mentioned this when I was talking to Kinsey Schofield, that if you want the true, based in America pilled entertainment evening, what you do is you watch National Treasure 1. You don't have to watch 2. I don't really watch 2 very often. You watch National Treasure 1, and then if you've got time at the end of the night, you watch reruns of the early seasons of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And you look at, what it was like when American diner culture was at this peak, and we weren't living in this abyss of everybody with their faces stuck in their cell phones, which, to be fair, that's me most of the time. Anyways, that is what you do if you really want to show people how much you love America. You watch National Treasure, and then you need to, after that, you watch Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Burned Oil says, Brett needs to learn to take breaths in between talking nonstop like this. Well, the hard part with that is normally you're sending it to someone else rather than, just talking yourself. This is why I do enjoy doing the solo segments in a lot of ways, because the conversational portion of what we do is more of a back and forth, but you've got your points that you want to hit when you do the individual segments. It's not really that way. You structure it out and then you go about it. So, Yesh says he wants Texas Roadhouse tonight. I thought that story ended up being a hoax. All right. Guys, as always, hit the like button on the episode. It's not the episode. Hit the like button on this, whatever this is, and subscribe to our channel if you're new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Please and thank you. Remember to share it out. If you want to share this out so that people can watch me kind of walk the tightrope of just yapping by myself in a living room here, then share it out with everybody and, let them see me kind of screw it all up as we're doing here. Okay, can somebody tell me who? I know that people keep mentioning Shelly. Is it Faber's her name? I didn't include her name in my list for this because it's not somebody that I was familiar with. So I do apologize about that. But there were so many people. That have died this year that eventually you just have to make a cutoff period. $20 super chat here. Thank you so much. Yes, guys, let's get this episode, which is not an episode, Crisis Party, because even if the episode isn't real, the Crisis Party is still very real. Says David Bauer says, good job for holding down the fort. Good job for holding the fort down solo today, Brett. Thank you. And I apologize. I'll read as little as possible today because everybody knows how good I am at reading. I'm just absolutely fantastic at reading. Ethan says, yammer away. Look, the thing is, I don't watch, any of the people who, stream just streaming. I don't know the art of, just sitting around and yapping unless I'm yapping about a specific topic in which I have notes and stuff that I want to talk about. So, it's a skill set in and of itself. So we will get started then, because I do want to talk about this. This is, I guess, why I decided to actually go through with this one today, because this was such a big story. And these stories this week have been all over the place. So if you don't know, earlier in the week, National Treasure Dolly Parton passed away. And then seemingly on the same day, Tim Curry died, but then they announced it the day after. And then as if cruel, a cruel twist of fate, everybody talks about the idea that celebrities die in threes. Peter Cullen, who is the legendary voice of Optimus Prime in the Transformers franchise, also Eeyore, which I learned and did not know, and apparently he did all the guttural sounds for Predator in the Predator movie. He passed away. He was 85 years old, and it was interesting to me because I didn't make posts. Like, I'm not one of those people that gets on board. Like it feels like when you report on pop culture news, you should feel obligated to like make a tweet every time a celebrity dies. But I just didn't. I didn't do it for Dolly Parton. I didn't do it for Tim Curry, but I did do it for Peter Cullen. And I think the reason for that is tenfold. It's partially to do because it's like, wow, this is now three people in the span of just a couple of days, more if you count the names that were mentioned earlier, but also if you count Hayden Panettiere, who died last week. And it just feels like this avalanche of bad news, on top of the political nature of it all, with people who keep, making it about politics, which is very, very stupid and annoying. But I did make one for Peter Cullen. And I guess a big part of that is because I am like the number one big Bayformers, Transformers defender. Not, everybody loves the animated. Makes sense perfectly. But to me, there's so much about those Transformers movies that I still love to this day. I don't care that they're schlock. By the way, I do make a distinction between schlock and slop. When I make the jokes about America having better wartime propaganda, that's kind of what I mean by it in a lot of ways. It's not just the storylines. It's like Michael Bay makes the U.S. military look cool. Slow motion, 360 camera shots. Everybody's cool. Everybody's good looking. It's awesome. It was a part of Americana. In the mid 2000s, Transformers came out in 2007, and I got to thinking about his clip, and I was like, look, this is why it matters, right? Because you have three people just in the last week. So you have Dolly Parton, who would influence and inspire an entire generation generations of people, but going back decade after decade after decade. Same is true of Tim Curry, and now Peter Cullen, and each one of these celebrities, through different means, like mediums, when you really think about it, affected very different people. Dolly Parton affecting, a whole amount of people that love that type of country music and country pop and what she meant to so many people. Tim Curry influencing horror movie fans and genre fans. And then you have Peter Cullen influencing franchise fans, people that got to see something that they loved from their childhood. Gen Xers especially get brought from, the small screen to the big screen, and being that consistent voice along the way spoke to many people. And like I say about the conservatives who speak about it as if this stuff doesn't matter, and to be fair, I don't believe that that's what you guys are talking about here. I believe that most of you that watch this show, you understand it, and you understand that these people, they serve, not only do they serve a purpose within the culture, but they made an impact. And I'm just going to play this clip. Since we're deleting this episode anyways, I am going to play the last minute from the original Transformers movie that I, to be fair, repost like all the time. Because you know what? This is what you listen to when you want to hear an inspirational speech. It's a voice like this. So here we go. Amazing military propaganda. We have the soldier coming home from war to his loving wife and his new child. You are correct. It is weird that Sam and Michaela were making out on Bumblebee. I don't know if Michael Bay ever addressed this. I don't know if Bumblebee was okay with that. Frankly, they should have asked questions, but that's what the intimacy coordinator would be for now, so that Bumblebee can say, this makes guys watching, just a little weird. But let's not let it distract us. I'm done with that. Every time I watch this movie, I want to be like that guy in Independence Day after the president gets done giving his speech and he goes like this, like super hardcore. That's me every time I watch this movie. And that's on top of the fact that the cinematography is still, leagues better than all of the garbage that comes out today. But you hear that voice, And Optimus Prime really was like the voice of a generation. And I've got these, I was looking into it. I thought it was really, really interesting. So Peter Cullen based his portrayal of Optimus Prime on his brother, Larry, who was a captain in the U.S. Marine Corps. He said that Optimus Prime is his favorite voice role and that he based the performance on his brother who served in Vietnam. He said, when he came home, I could see a change. He was quieter. He was a man and a superhero to me. I watched him and listened to him. I'd never had an opportunity to do a superhero, and when that came, that voice just came right out of me, and I sounded like Optimus Prime. Like, to me, there's something beautiful about that, just that knowledge, right? Like, if you want to, you can talk about the trivial nature of what you feel art is, but knowing that this guy tried to embody the heroic feelings he had, that he felt towards his own brother, you know, the love and respect he had for his own brother who went and fought in war. And he used that as the baseline for this character that then transcends a cartoon and becomes something important to all of pop culture for decades to come. That's why art matters. That's why it's important, because for all the garbage that you get, yes, it is Optimus Larry, by the way. For all the garbage that you get, like I saw this stupid story the other day about a movie they're making about like what it was like to be like working for British tabloids in the 70s. And it's like, it's a critique of capitalism. Like, wow, sounds fun. Sounds like a good time. Just like what I want to unwind after a long day at the office. So as much as you can call this a long day at the office. You know, you had a hard day, you went to work, maybe you swing a hammer for a living, maybe you work in the fields, maybe you work on a ship, right? You get home, you're done with your work day, you want to watch something that really, really speaks to you. What do you want to watch? I'm guessing it's not stuff about how British tabloids should be a critique of capitalism, because that sounds like stupid bullshit. No, what you want to watch is Optimus Prime sound cool while he defeats Megatron. That's what every normal person wants to watch. And yes, I do say normal, as if everything else is a pejorative in that sense. It's just, I love this stuff, and I'll never understand the desire to. No, that's not true. I do understand the desire to dismiss it. The desire to dismiss it comes from the Rachel Zeglers of the world who make their entire lives political. And then, you know what? You can't blame people. You know, they see the stories of Rachel Zegler wearing her Get Ice Out of New York City shirt, and they're like, you know what? Fuck art. Who cares? Like, no wonder, right? Because it's not immersive anymore. They take you out of the experience. You know, people have now started to dissect everything Dolly Parton has ever done to try and prove that she's on their side of the art. Well, no, that's not even fair. That is what the left is doing right now. That is what, you know, leftists and communists are doing, taking this woman who gave millions to charity and went out of her way to love everybody and not make it political, no matter who the person was, worked with Kid Rock in 2023, refused to denigrate Donald Trump, but also didn't take the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Trump or from Biden, yet they want to use her as like an example of, see, she would be like, this woman who didn't hate anybody, she would totally hate the people that I hate. Fuck you. Fuck you. Like, that shit's bullshit. And that's what it is. The ability to separate the art from the artist is something that I think is very, very important, but it shouldn't have to be. Optimus Prime, the character, is going to live on now, and Peter Cullen will live on right alongside him. And you go to his IMDb, and there wasn't like a notable section for political activism there, not that I saw. And even if there was, it wasn't so blatant that people would know, you know, what he cared about in that respect. And to be fair, that is going to be something that darkens the doorstep of actors and entertainers on both sides of the aisle when they die, and hopefully for them, for any of them, not for a very, very long time. But the Mark Ruffalo's of the world will always kind of be known as political activists in addition to entertainers. The same will be true of Kevin Sorbo or actors on the right who do so. And most of them, they've made peace with that, and they're okay with that, and that's fine. But I think that the beauty of it for a lot of people is that the There, I fixed the crisis meter. There we go. Like, the beauty of that for a lot of people is they don't need to know, and they don't want to know, and that's how I feel about it for most of it. I saw 20 here. I'm sorry I missed it, my friend. From Weary Traveler says Brett carrying PCC on his back per usual. Well, yeah, bro. You know me. Like, I'm gonna need surgery from carrying the show on my back. No, not really. I want to read this post from Popcast Brothers. Shout out to them. They're great. They kind of went more in depth with it with Peter Cullen, so I thought I'd share. When Peter Cullen auditioned for the role of Optimus Prime in 1984, he asked the advice of his older brother Larry how he should portray the role. Larry had served in Vietnam for 16 years earlier, and Peter remembered how coming home changed. Oh, I'm sorry. Peter remembered him coming home changed. Larry told Peter that when he auditioned, don't be a Hollywood hero, be a real hero. Real heroes don't yell and act tough. They are tough enough to be gentle, so control yourself. Larry passed away at the age of 70 on March 25th, 2011, when Transformers Dark Side of the Moon was in post-production. Was it, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, was it Dark Side of the Moon or was it Dark of the Moon? I feel like it had a weird name like Dark of the Moon. I could be completely misremembering that. Peter credited the advice from his older brother for the voice that came out of him when he became Optimus Prime. He said thoughts of his brother Larry, a man who had a superhero and a man and a superhero, and tried to do his voice. And for the next 40 years, we were blessed with one of the most impressive and inspiring voices in all of animation. Peter's voice was so iconic that even at the age of 82, he came back to voice Optimus Prime once again in Transformers Rise of the Beasts in 2023. Just incredible. Optimus once said, "Fate rarely calls upon us at the moment of our choosing. And also, there's a thin line between being a hero and being a memory." Peter will be both a hero and a fond memory to all of us Transformers fans for the rest of our days. The next time I hear Optimus say, "Autobots, roll out," I will be thinking of you and Larry making that final journey together into eternity. Rest in peace and power, hero. Please, it was great. Thank you for that tweet there. Great stuff over there, and they have a fantastic channel. You should go and check them out. And I think that that's great. I also saw this from Valiant Renegade. He shared his thoughts. He was gutted at the loss of Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen is one of the great voice actors in Hollywood history. He's also one of the greatest gentlemen I've ever met. His iconic voice of over 40 years as Optimus Prime has transcended generations. I had the honor of meeting him again this evening, and he sent a private FaceTime to Renegade Jr., wishing him a happy 13th birthday. Hollywood needs way more Peter Cullen. This is an old tweet of his that he had shared, and it's just like, that's what it is, right? Like, when somebody transcends that world and they inspire a generation, I feel like that's what the actor should be looking to do. And it shouldn't be about whether they're picking the right project for whatever the current year is, or whether that project has the right message. Is it going to inspire, generations of people? It's amazing stuff. So I don't know, chat. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Like, I'm assuming we've got, because I've looked at our analytics in the past, and I know for a fact that plenty of you guys, if you are still watching, if you're still watching right now, plenty of you guys are in that age range where you grew up with Transformers. Mike says it was Dark of the Moon. I was right. Amazing. That is amazing. That's so great. Sorry, OJPN. All right. I feel like that he inspired a generation. And then, you saw that we really are here, guys, where it's like they talk about the celebrity deaths in threes, but we're even past 3 now. Like, if you count Hayden Panettiere and the other names, it's way more than 3 in current, as of current. So it just isn't even 3s anymore. Like, that was going to be the name of this episode, but it isn't even deaths in 3s anymore. It just feels like so many people have passed so recently, because they had this listed as Hayden Panettiere, Dolly Parton, and Tim Curry, but that was before you knew that Peter Cullen had died. Before that, Catherine O'Hara, James Vanderbeek, and Eric Dane. Yeah, we lost Brenda Fricker, Catherine O'Hara, and now Tim Curry, all Home Alone 2 actors. All in 1 year. And James Vanderbeek was the name that I forgot yesterday. There have been so many more. Anthony Head and Nicholas Brendan from Buffy died this year. It's like, these are like, it's just so much. I think part of it has to do, like, I'm going to be doing an episode. So if you guys haven't been watching, I've been trying to do these bonus episodes for the weekends that are more themed. I did one with Siaka. We talked about Run, Hide, Fight and Run, Hide, Fight Infidels and what it was like working on a Daily Wire movie. I did one recently with Blabs that was all entirely focused on Harry Potter. I've got one coming up with Kinsey Schofield that's all about, you know, the history of the Hollywood press tour and why press tours suck now. And then I'm going to be doing another one coming up with another streamer talking all about millennial nostalgia and the addiction that millennials seem to have with nostalgia. And I think a lot of that does have to do with less children being born. So as the next generation grows up, you know, and they get to be my age, you know, when you're 40 years old, and, you know, in lieu of having kids, which, to be fair, I haven't had kids yet either. We haven't had kids yet. Like, they're reliant on these things that they love from their childhood because they feel like their lives are incomplete. The world around them doesn't resemble the world that they lived in growing up. You know, technological advances being as, you know, acute as it was. You know, there was a drastic change in our culture in just 20 years technologically. But on top of that, you look at cost of living now, you know, demographic shifts in America, cultural shifts in America. So much has changed in the last 20 years that it's hard to imagine that you wouldn't feel some sort of nostalgia because you're kind of grasping at straws to get any semblance of the world that you once knew back. And the only way people seem to know how to do that is through nostalgia. So when a celebrity from a franchise that you loved dies, it feels a little bit like you're losing a part of yourself. And is that a sign of a healthy society? You know, I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily a sign of a healthy society. You would think that a sign of a healthy society would respect art as something important to the culture, but wouldn't obsess over it. But it is a sign of cultural impact, and that can't be denied. There's a 20 here from Shane H. Wilder. Also, guys, I would love it if you guys want to share your thoughts on, like, I would love to know what you guys feel about, you know, are celebrities important to the culture? Do they matter? Or is it just, am I kind of just, am I coping here? I don't feel like I am, but maybe you feel differently. Shane H. Wilder says, the reason we grieve celebrities is their art can have a profound effect on us. From the song that got us through a hard time, to the movie we watch with our parents, and now show to our kids, it's part of the human condition. Yes. Yeah, with music especially too. Like, how often do you go to somebody's, like, to an old musician's YouTube channel? Not even old. Somebody who's our age, who came to prominence in their 20s, now you're in your 40s, and they're like, look, this song was an anthem to me when I was younger. Like, these things mattered to me when I was younger. I was with this person. This was my, you know, I was engaged. I was married. I met the love of my life while listening to your song. I took the love of my life to see your movie on our second date. That's a thing, right? Because art doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It's something that exists to be experienced and then interacted with by those that, you know, that take part in wanting to experience the art. And maybe that's why people get so annoyed when artists seem to denigrate their audience. When artists denigrate their audience, they are effectively denigrating a huge part of the artistic process. You can be overly self-absorbed and say, you know what, I just create the art. What they do with it is their business. And I guess that's true. But I feel like the artists do have to at least care a little bit, you know, how the audience feels about it. You don't want them to go all the way to the point where the fans need to agree with your art, right? You don't want them to be whoever, you know, who is it, Kripke? Who is it that, it's Eric Kripke that created the Boys, right? I crazy about that? I just get him and Tim Kring mixed up. Tim Kring is the guy who did Crossing Jordan, which I love, and of course, he did Heroes, which is great. But it's like they want you to judge the art the way they see it, right? But you have to find a middle ground. You can't just expect the art to just be done and then move on, at least not if you want it to resonate with anybody. But you also can't expect to hold on to it and tell everybody what they get to experience from your art. And the best seem to be the ones that create something with passion and conviction, and they put it out in the world and they let it speak for itself, and whatever people feel of it, they allow that to happen. And that's kind of how it feels like it should be in a lot of ways. They also mentioned Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is another great example of somebody who, despite the fact that he is seen as inherently flawed by many, whether it's because of the sex tape video and the remarks that were made on there, the way that he apologized but didn't apologize to the WWE locker room, after he came back, or if you want to talk about the fact that he was known to spin a yarn or two, whether he was known to always be truthful about those road stories. Also, it didn't matter. The single most influential wrestler of all time, and the man who shepherded wrestling forward through one of its biggest boom periods ever. Somebody who transcended the sport of wrestling. I still call it a sport. I don't care. Like, y'all couldn't do it, I couldn't do it. It's a sport. Fine, whatever. Who transcended the business and went on to act and be a cultural phenomenon to more than just wrestling fans, right? He mattered. Like, I still, in my mind, the thing that I remember most about Hulk Hogan, beyond just the WCW turn when they formed the NWO, or body slamming Andre the Giant, the thing I remember the most, Suburban Commando trailer that was on like my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 VHS tape. You guys know how much I love that movie. It's literally from the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So that doesn't fall there. That movie and that trailer play. They have an indelible mark on my life because they were created by people. Was the movie any good? And I'm speaking of Suburban Commando. No, not that I remember. Was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1990 good? Yes, unbelievably good. So whether you agree or disagree with Hulk Hogan, whether you're somebody that loved him no matter what is politics, or you're one of those douches in LA or wherever they were when they did the Netflix premiere and they booed him out of the building, you can't deny his cultural impact and influence. And that is why these things matter. Kate Spade, Anthony Bourdain, Jackson Odell, Prince China, and Doris Roberts all at the same time. Tony Gwynn, Casey Kasem, and Ruby Dee. Burt Young, Richard Roundtree, Matthew Perry. Think about the people to this day. What Matthew Perry means to so many people. We would joke about it on here, I'm sure, but, the millennial cringe of Loving Friends doesn't negate its cultural influence. It mattered to a lot of people. And it's still, to this day, it's always up there as like one of the highest watched shows on any various streaming service at any given time. Elmore Leonard, if I remember correctly, not even looking it up, Elmore Leonard wrote the story in which the TV show Justified was based upon. I love that show, right? It matters. Lee Thompson Young, he was from the show, I think most people know him from the famous Jet Jackson, but he was also, he was in the show Rizzoli and Isles. So even me, who loves his boomer procedurals, this actor that maybe many people my age wouldn't have known because they didn't necessarily watch a show like that, loved him in that. Thought the character of Frost was great in that. It's just crazy. And weeks like this are always a bummer, I guess. Tim Morrill says, Suburban Commando was fun and insane. My adolescent brain loved it. Maybe I should rewatch it and do a review. Yes, I did show my leg because I'm solo today. That's why. First one's free. 2 Crisis Parties if you want to see more. Dingus Khan of Gongolia says, what the Hulk Hogan movie where he fall... What? I can't read it, man. It's like illegible. I'm sorry. I can't read it. Sorry. Bob Man says, R.I.P. Carr, and let's hope Kit has another 20 years. That's from Knight Rider, right? Like, he was the original in that, and then Kit. When I was young, I had a little, like, my parents couldn't afford, like, what were those Power Wheels that had were move at a snail's pace. I had like a little car that had pedals that you could pedal in, so it was like Power Wheels for the poors. I was poors. And my uncle, because we loved Knight Rider, at least I couldn't really process it, but I thought the voice sounded cool and the car looked cool. So my uncle painted the car black and put the little red stripe on the front, and we called it my own personal Kit. I wish I still had that thing. The Destroyer True All Troll says, no, Peter Cullen is dead too? Who is going to voice Optimus Prime in Transformers 8 now? I actually was wondering who they're going to get to voice Optimus Prime when they do eventually. Call me like... Maybe it was a different character, but for some reason I thought they actually did replace Peter Cullen in some of the later movies. Am I totally crazy about that? When I was looking at his IMDb, it looked like all of them, but maybe it was Megatron or another character that got like recast in the voice role. But for some reason I thought it was him, but it wasn't. Michael Jackson, Farrah Fawcett, and Ed McMahon. It's crazy, guys. That many people that die in threes. So, all right. We will, and guys, oh wait, I gotta turn you guys can't see the crisis meter right now. Yes, we're getting pretty close to a crisis meter here, guys. I'm gonna yap until about 4 o'clock. I don't think anybody could stand listening to me for an hour, like for 2 hours solo. But I will, I'll yap till 4 o'clock, and if you hostage party, I'll stay on, but otherwise, we'll do that. Did anybody care? You know what? Did anybody care about Jelly Roll? Did anybody care about Jelly Roll dissing Trump? Like, I just can't bring myself to care. I imagine it was like written in the contract that you have to, if you're gonna do like the, if you're gonna fill in host for Jimmy Kimmel, you have to do some type of stupid joke about Trump. Well, he continued doing it. It was very stupid and very lowbrow, but I don't find it to be anything particularly like it. Like, it would be one thing if it was actually funny, but it's never actually funny, right? It's like the formula itself, where it was just this like bullshit champagne socialist, written by committee, West Coast writers room schlock for MSNBC and CNN viewers. Let's talk about I don't know what Jelly Roll sounds like other than the clip I listened to here, so I can't do I did listen to it, but I can't do a good Jelly Roll impression, so I apologize. And that one, I'm already getting copyright claimed for Transformers today, so I ain't doing it for I'm not letting them copyright claim me either. Let's talk about the main event of America this week. It was the big IndyCar race hosted by the president. He was talking about the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. The cars drove through the streets of D.C., and there's Donald Trump, who has apparently never held a flag before. What a shit job, he said. What the, who F's up waving a flag? It's so funny. I'm dying laughing. And all that would be fine. You know, whatever. He's very mainstream now. The part that most people are going to take issue with, because I did see some people be like, what do you want him to do? It's like, you should make fun of your president if he does something stupid. You know, you should not view Donald Trump as such a sacred cow that he can't be made fun of. But people look at it a little bit differently when you've cultivated and courted an audience that falls into that side of the aisle. So it makes his other comments kind of a problem for him when he basically said that if you don't want to listen, if you don't like the comments I made, don't listen to my music. Anybody who watches this channel, I bet you there's a pretty strong Venn diagram overlap between people who watch this channel and remember like how bad it was in the comic book industry in like 2018, 2019. You don't like my politics? Don't buy my book. Does anybody remember that? Is that ringing any bells? I imagine that it is. So he says, for those who threaten to stop listening to my music based on my comments last night, I just want to say with conviction, well, he was convicted once, but it's besides the point. Sorry, I'll start over. For those who threatened to stop listening to my music based on my comments last night, I just want to say with conviction, go right ahead. Like I said, when you've cultivated a certain audience, better it be left alone, right? Clearly what you're looking to do here is to court a new audience, the phantom new audience, where once you've reached a certain level of success in life, right? You've maxed out your potential audience over here, middle America, what they would call Trump voters. Now you're extremely mainstream. Now you're looking to court a new audience. And I guess that new audience is what? West Coast libs who probably hate everything you probably hated everything you stood for at one point, except for the crime part. They probably love the crime part. But in general, they probably spoke down to people that grew up in the area that you grew up in. They definitely think that you're uneducated and stupid. And that's your new potential audience. Good for you, I guess, but I don't know how smart of a strategy that is. If you're going to then throw the old audience out. Do you throw an old audience out with the bathwater? I guess so. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him. It wasn't just Jelly Roll kind of doing this. And this is the problem with monoculture, right? There are no subcultures anymore. And you'd be hard-pressed to call his music country music, but I guess it falls into that category. But everything is an amorphous blob that was at one point in the shape of a giant USAID banner, where everything is an amorphous blob of just monoculture, current year slop. Country music is not country music anymore. Maybe it started when Eminem became the best rapper in the world, or when Tiger Woods became the best golfer in the world. But we started pushing towards a monoculture where everything feels like it all has to have the same fan base, the same audience. And I do criticize a lot of the country artists who, like a rapper who never slanged dope or killed anybody. Much the same as a country music entertainer who, and to be, I guess, Jelly Roll falls more into the rapper category than the country singer. But much like the country singer who grew up in cosmopolitan areas in maybe a Nashville or something and lives in a big house, doesn't really understand the idea of getting home to work after swinging a hammer on their 9 to 5, going to the local bar, and then home to your wife and kids. They're singing about something they don't necessarily understand, and it's pushed to an audience of people now that is increasingly, like I said, amorphous and monoculture. So Casey Musgraves was talking about supporting organizations for the children of illegal immigrants who were deported unfairly. And you wonder, but who is this for, right? I guess the idea here is that it's going to be for the women folk, because they're going to be the women folk and the male libs are going to be the ones that are going to resonate with this. But now they're basically like, so all you've got left is that Ella Langley chick. That's all that you've got left, because she hasn't really spoken about it, and maybe she has, and I just don't know about it yet. But I saw people talking about that, where it's like country music is now just as bland and watered down as the rest of the pop music genre, except where you've got twang. To be fair, I've contributed to that because I love Sam Hunt, but he's basically just pop R&B, but a white guy with like a twang to his voice with twang rhythms. So the jelly roll thing is just, it's kind of ridiculous and stupid because like you can tell when they're ready to move on to their next audience, to the new group of people that they're looking to raise their profile with. Or maybe that divorce is going to cost him more money than he thought with Bunny XL. Bunny XL or Bunny XL? It's Bunny XL. Maybe it cost him too much and they offered him like a ton of money to do Jimmy Kimmel late night show, because I can't think of anything less fun than that. All right, let's do some. I'm gonna go through the super chats here, guys, and then I'll look through at what was going on with National Treasure as well. Again, if you are watching, thank you so much. This is an unplanned, mildly prepared episode that was designed for more people, but you make do with what you've got, and you don't let your audience down as best you can. If you can, you don't let them down. So if there's like 5 people watching, I appreciate you guys. Shane H. Wilder says, happy Thrashing Thursday, Brett. And you know what? Sometimes all you need is your homie, Brett. That's me. I'm homie. Thank you for that. He also says, Shane says, remember, if there's no PCC, someone is either sick or there is an upset in the Gongo, and it might need to be dealt with swiftly. Yeah. I mean, I'm not our special envoy to the Gongo, but we'll have to check in with Mary tomorrow. If she is on some type of humanitarian mission that's like secretly actually just a CIA op, I don't know about it. But, we'll check back later. Olivia Dasovic, member for 6 months, thank you, says, let it be known, Mocha, Toast, and Chloe did offer to co-host, but they all fell asleep here before starting. Rude of them to fall asleep. Well, if they're good at anything, they're good at sleeping. This is very true. TX Goliath, I'm assuming TX is Texas, says, did Optimus Prime call for illegal immigration? He did, unfortunately. But you know what? Here's the thing. He may have done that, but I'm willing to bet that Optimus Prime himself would have a stronger vetting process for any Autobots who escaped Cybertron and are on their way. Like, I'm guessing that he would at least vet them. He's going to require birth certificates, records, and you know what? If he's smart, he's going to go and talk to the president, and we're going to charge them a solid fee. Like, they're not just going to get visas willy-nilly, right? We're going to do, like, that gold card visa program for the Autobots. Because, this isn't that H-1B bullshit. This is the, the high skill. What are somebody in the chat right now, which is the one, the H-1B visa is the one that they use to kind of cheat the system. What is the visa that they get for like the truly high-skilled labor? Because that's the one that the Autobots need to come in on if they're going to do that. Somebody let me know in the chat. I don't know. Well, maybe we'll never know. Somebody let me know later. All right. Mike, member for 6 months, says, Cullen transcendent generations. My oldest son's first ringtone was Optimus Prime saying, roll out. He's 19 now. R.I.P. the leader of the Autobots. Rest in peace. Greg Duvier says, can the Grim Reaper just chill for the rest of 2026? Seriously, bro, I saw a great GIF earlier of like a woman grabbing a shotgun and shooting the Grim Reaper clear out of a room, and it said, share if the Grim Reaper comes knocking today. Can't let that happen. Dingus Khan of Gongolia says, I found the movie, Brett. It was Suburban Commando, where he hurls a kid's skateboard into the sky. It's been so long since I've seen it that I remember nothing from it. I'm going to have to rewatch it. Like, I remember the trailer way more than I remember the movie. What's the line? It was like the line. He's like, I'm your landlord. Yeah, it was just funny. It's crazy, too, how, like, gigantic Hulk Hogan was. You'd think with a name like Hulk Hogan that would make sense, but Hulk Hogan, from everything that I've learned, like listening to wrestling podcasts, like analyze it. He's actually like, he was like, what, 6'5" or 6'6", but he always had to work from underneath. And what that means is like, he had to make the big heroic comeback. That's what hulking up was, right? Him making the comeback and then winning the match at the end. Like, imagine being able to like keep an audience in the palm of your hand like that. Incredible. Greg Duvier. Yep, country music died in 2000. High Voltage 75 says, cringe or cue to the day? Oh yeah, we can do it. No cringe, but I can do cue to the day. And since I always get unfairly maligned as a dog hater, we've got this one from Charlie. Just a few leaves hanging from his drool. That is gross, my friend, but thank you for submitting the pet. You didn't give us a name, though, so I don't know the name. Let's do one more. These were ones we've done before. Terrence Rice, thank you, says, sup, Brett? Here's Milky chilling by the pool. I had to zoom in, otherwise her crazy ass would have ran off. Oh, she's like right out, like tucked into the corner. Hold on. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's just, Milky is maxing and relaxing by the pool. Must be nice. She must love it when you grill too. Incredible. All right. Let me check Rumble too. I am still going to do National Treasure. Are there National Treasure fans here? Like, are there fans who love the... Like, I haven't seen the original one like a million times, but when you watch it, when you watch the original National Treasure, you're like, fuck yeah. Like let's have some pride. Like, and it's so, like, it's really interesting, and I'll get into it more what I mean by it when I talk about how the director talks about Democrats making the movie. Because I think what he doesn't realize is how divorced the party is from American values. The local Wendigo over on Rumble says, celebrity deaths don't matter. You people worship them like gods, and it's pathetic. Well, first of all, no. It's not worship. No, I would put people's response to criticisms of Trump or criticisms of Obama as closer to, you know, the issue people take with criticisms of Trump or Obama are closer to celebrity worship than simply acknowledging that an actor like a Tim Curry, a voice actor like a Peter Cullen, or a singer like Dolly Parton had an amazing effect on the culture. And my point being is that, and to your point, Wendigo, I don't know if your thoughts on that are born out of a disdain for celebrities because of politics or if it's for other reasons, but I'm gonna kind of couch it in the realm of how it's usually phrased to me and who it's usually phrased by on the macro scale, which it's usually by people who are very, very into politics, who think that the end is nigh at any given moment, and that they're the type of person who says, when somebody who is generally apolitical and they don't care about politics says, you know, I don't really care about politics, and they say, but politics cares about you, their worldview is filtered through the lens of politics, because in the real world, politics is just Hollywood for ugly people. They believe that it's more important because public policy and the actions of politicians have an effect on your life as a human being. I'd argue more so on the local level than on the national level, but their actions do affect you, and I understand that. But the idea here, when they say that celebrities don't matter, is that the world around you is affected by many, many more things than public policy. If anything, I would make the argument that the left's ability to control and maintain control over things like arts and entertainment will end up down the line affecting public policy, because it affects the sentiment of those that eventually become voters. And even while they're voting, which is where the famous quote from Breitbart is, which is politics is downstream of culture. So fine. But the difference is that somebody who is more willing to engage with both can understand that while celebrities should not be worshipped, and that is stupid, they do things that matter to people. And I would argue that a world full of perfect fiscal and public policy doesn't make a perfect world. Those things would contribute to that, but a world with your perfect brand of politics, be it the, reducing the debt, reducing illegal immigration, whatever your issues are, as great as that would be towards a utopian idea of society for you, making good public policy is enhanced when you have other aspects of life that make your culture worth engaging in. So when people talk about the relationship between men and women, the complementary relationship between men and women, men being more a product of function and how did I phrase this? Men being more a product of no nonsense function would contribute to society differently. So you as a guy don't understand the importance of decorating your home, right? When you guy's living on his own, when a guy's living on his own, he's got the TV on like the box that the TV came in. He's got one couch, some free weights, and some food in the fridge. And that's his life. And that's fine because all he needs in that moment is function. Well, one day he meets a beautiful woman. They get married, and she fills the house with knickknacks from TJ Maxx and Home Goods. And that house now looks drastically differently. Well, that house is then used to entertain friends and family, wherein you produce more from your relationships with your neighbors and other people in your bloodline. And those relationships foster closer ties to the community. And art contributes the same way. A city set up only for function isn't fun to look at, and fun to look at affects people's moods and attitudes, right? There's a reason people now critique brutalist architecture. So you go into a city, right? Sure, you've got your local businesses, you've got your gas station, you've got your tax places, you've got your restaurants, all forms of societal function. They serve a purpose. But on the outskirts of the city, you've got a park. You've got art done by local artists or stuff contributed by your local schools who do art contests. And it makes the neighborhood easier and better to look at. That contributes to a full society. Art contributes to a full society. That's my personal opinion. Broody Gambit. I was told this story before, but when my local theater opened, I saw National Treasure there at the first showing. Then I saw Tenet, and then I saw Tenet there as the final showing before they closed down for COVID. Well, I love both of those franchises. Well, I guess Tenet is not a franchise, but I do love Tenet. But that's great that you saw both of them. You saw the beginning and the end of two different eras. The Jerry Bruckheimer era. Well, I guess it's not the end of it. You saw a Jerry Bruckheimer era producing something like National Treasure, and then you saw, Christopher Nolan at the end of his Warner Brothers era. All right. Going through some more here. Sorry for my rant. I apologize. Jolly, for $10 on Rumble, thank you so much, says, since I can't get you to review Fast and Furious, F&F, I'm assuming you mean Fast and Furious, as Point Break, I will give you a fun Easter egg. In Detective Pikachu, when you first see Ditto, it turns into Tim Pool. I thought Tim had his own Pokemon, like named after him. Isn't that true? It's like Timpole or something like that. Am I crazy? I swear that was part of the lore. I don't know. And what do you mean by can't get you to review Fast and Furious as Point Break? I love both of those movies. Point Break is amazing. Fast and the Furious is amazing. And I'm excited for Fast Forever, or whatever the hell it's going to be called. It's going to be a lot of fun if they ever actually get it done. Broody Gambit says, I was just a little young for Transformers, saw reruns, but I mostly watched Beast Wars. There you go. Broody Gambit, one more, says, wait, is that the original prop of April's sketch? Well, it's not the original. It was something that somebody hand drew. I got it off Etsy ages ago. I love this thing. Hold on here. Oh. So, it is hand drawn. It's behind glass, but if you look at it closely, you can see that it's sketched and it's not a reprint. It says up in the top right corner, Leo. And then it's got here, it says bathroom, points to bathroom. Up here it says blue, and then down here it says stool needs floor shadows, Leonardo, September 19th, 1990. So, I love that. All right. Go down here. Burned oils, am I doing well? Not over breathing, as you said. Hopefully so. All right, let's do the rest of the super chats. I went off on a rant here, so maybe I won't do maybe I might do the National Treasure thing tomorrow, unless people really, really want me to. Shane H. Wilder says, guys, we are very close to that crisis party. Come on, let's go. Shane H. Wilder says, it's a joint FBI, CIA psyop because we know Mary's a Fed. I mean, well, yeah, everybody knows I'm not the Fed. Couldn't be me. I don't think I meet Fed height requirements. Not gonna let me do that. Greg Duvier says the Pokemon you are thinking of is Timpole. Yeah, that's what I said. I thought it was spelled differently than that. Shane H. Wilder says Brett is an Etsy girly, confirmed. Lol JK. Well, actually, Shane, if you remember, I used to put like behind me. I used to have a couple of other like pictures back there. Like, I used to have a quote from Person of Interest back there. And if you've ever seen my set, you know, my set at home, it's literally all posters from movies. And some of those were from eBay, but I found some other ones that were more rare that I did get as reprints off Etsy. High Voltage 75 says Trump renamed Lake Ontario to Lake America. I saw that. I fully admit that on the average day, Trump doing stuff like that, if I'm in a more sarcastic mood, I laugh. If I'm in a more annoyed mood, I'm like, why does he have to make life harder for everybody? But it still makes me laugh. It is funny. What was the reason for it, right? I don't remember, like, was there a reason why he named it? Mike says, breathe harder, damn it. Well, then you don't want that. Then I'm like a fatty sitting here going, like, you don't want that. So it's just like, screw Canada. I mean, that's fine. Like, I saw Phil call somebody a frostback. Remember, guys, that's my term. That's mine. Frostback is mine. As a Minnesotan, I am an honorary frostback. So what it has to do with tariffs and trade? Real data, please, says POE mentioned everyone take a shot. You didn't even get the last letter right, bro. Not to dunk on you, but look, if you want to have a game where if I mention stuff a lot, it gets take a drink, which by the way, when you I was looking at this earlier today. I was just hold on, where I put it here. Yeah. I was looking at this earlier. It was just looking through all the episodes that we do. Because you do 5 days a week. And I was just of course I repeat shit, right? 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. You're bound to repeat shit. Especially if it's stuff that you actually like, right? If it's stuff you like, you're bound to repeat it because it matters to you. In fact, I was rewatching episodes of Numbers. I would like Numbers to be the new Take a Drink on this channel. Because I love that show. Nobody else watched it but me. I'm not, S. Dozer says, blame Canada. I'm not singing the song, but, maybe I will blame Canada. Defeater says, I love Trump, but the whole back and forth is, I don't say that word on here because you guys know why I don't say the R slur on here? It's because everybody's seen Woke 2.0 coming back, right? I'm still fully of the opinion that one day YouTube is going to go like that. And they're just going to start banning people for saying it again. Because since, we've already seen TikTok is already censorious as fuck, right? They won't censor the F word, but they'll censor the slurs. Like, I fully believe that they're gonna, like, that's gonna roll back and people are gonna start getting banned again. You watch. Said it's tarded because the liberal Canadians are tards and he wants to F them, and he wants to F with them. Well, yeah, I suppose so. You know. One more from High Voltage 75 says he's just trolling the Canucks. As a honorary Canuck, I'm offended on their behalf, I guess. Not really. Shage Wilder says, we know you aren't a Fed. Mary was brought in when PCC started live because she's your handler and had to go remote because you got too close to the truth. Yeah. Yeah. It could be it. I mean, you know, she'd come in and she'd be shoving like a badge in her pocket. I don't know what that was, but, you know, who knows, right? It'd be funny if she was, though, right? She's Mary's very short. She'd be very short for a Fed. Like, somebody in the chat let me know, is there a height requirement to get into the FBI? Because everybody knows. Look, everybody here knows. Like, if there's somebody you don't want to get pulled over by, it's a short cop, right? Always got a chip on their shoulder. First of all, don't disrespect the cops anyways, right? It's a very stupid way to have something bad happen to you. But short cop's going to always have a chip on his shoulder. He's going to automatically be pissed if you push back at all. Just don't do it. Be polite and get out of there. I don't think there's a height requirement there, but you're good. If you're a short cop going to be a Fed, you better be jacked, my friend. Katie says, thank you. Nobody's watching. I have no other cameras to switch to. Look, I can't even switch to other cameras to other people because there's nobody else I can actually switch cameras to. It's just me. The hell is up with that? Mike says, I got arrested by a short cop. They called him Napoleon at the station. My uncle worked with them. See what I mean? Just listen to me, guys. It'll turn out, it'll be all right. Be all right. Yeah, you got to do it. Eric David says, your shorter people can just walk and not have to duck. I don't ever have to duck, man. Not once, not never. Never happens. All right. Guys, I will leave it up to you. First answer that I read in the chat wins. Should I just skim over and cover the National Treasure stuff or just call it a day? I will leave it to the chat. We do need like somebody I could like a blow up doll we can put in the second seat as a co-host. And then I need to learn how to voice act or do alternate voices. Okay, Pat. Thank you, Pat the Plumber. Pat the Plumber was first. We are going to talk about it at least a little bit here then. All right. Let's talk about National Treasure, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you're watching this in a clipped format, you know that I am a National Treasure defender. I think it is a fantastic movie. I think it is one of the most pro-America movies you could possibly make. In fact, it is part of what I deem to be America maxing as a night of entertainment. First, you watch National Treasure. You don't have to watch part 2. You can if you want. After that, you watch seasons 1 through 5 of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and you watch the good old boys and girls hang out in diners, talk about how great their local establishment is, and you relish in a time where America felt, first of all, like it loved itself, and we actually respected our founders and the story that built this nation. But you also feel like it loved itself in that moment, who it was. Not what we have today, which is this leftist-inspired self-hatred that is born out of the original sin of slavery and colonialism, and this desire from people born in the greatest country on earth, which serves as a net exporter in just about everything to the world, whether it's oil or culture or military force They look down on the place they were born, despite the fact that the country that they live in is objectively, I'll be fair, subjectively, in my personal opinion, the greatest country on earth. They hate it. They hate it here. They love to tear down America, whatever they can. National Treasure is nothing like that. And it is a product of liberals making a movie at a time when the Democrats at least paid lip service to American values and at least paid lip service to the average everyday American. It's not like that anymore. At least it doesn't feel that way. But National Treasure 3 has been something that they have talked about for a very long time. They had that bullshit series that nobody watched on Disney Plus. It ain't National Treasure if it doesn't have Nicolas Cage in it. Sorry, not sorry. And I don't know if he cameoed in that, but he wasn't in the main series. And I don't know anybody that watched it. Okay? So they're saying that the movie is finally happening. And I was listening to this stuff being discussed by director of the film, John Turteltaub, who did the original film. By the way, Turteltaub is a fantastic last name. I'm sure the nicknames that he had in school were pretty brutal. But I bet you if he was cool, you know, they called him Turtle. And he was probably pretty sweet. He was referencing an interaction that he had with former speaker Kevin McCarthy, right? He says, he, like others, were surprised that Democrats made that movie because Democrats can't be patriots, he said. He was talking to the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's the thought, and it just got worse. And on the Democrat side, Republicans, they just want to keep stuff to themselves. They hate everybody. They want to kill everyone. Blah, blah, blah. At least like that he did the both sides thing there. So that was what he said about it. And when asked about whether they were going to be able to ignore politics, he basically said no, that they're going to have to address it. Though he did not offer many details about the third film, Turteltaub predicted that it would inevitably have to address modern politics. We have to be very careful, but I don't feel we are allowed to ignore it. Not with that attitude, you're not. You absolutely can. Just don't do it. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Does anybody does anybody remember how much of the Bush administration was in National Treasure and National Treasure 2? Was that something that came up a lot in that movie? I don't think so, not that I remember. But he says, we have to be very careful, but I don't feel like we are allowed to ignore it. I think we have to include the idea somewhere in the story without making someone feel put off. That is, like, impossible. If it reeks of anything modern, it's going to put like everyone off. And here's the other thing. The reason why I find this movie difficult to imagine in 2026 from somebody, if he considers himself a Democrat, is that right now, the Democrats are in a battle with the DSA, and that's not even like, in saying that the Democrats are in a battle with the DSA is somehow implying that the Democrats are in some way more pro-America. No. Democrats in general these days follow the same talking points about DEI. They follow the same talking points about unfettered immigration. The only thing that seemingly feels different between the Democrats and the DSA is the loud nature in which the DSA speaks about the idea of destroying the American empire, whereas regular Democrats simply want to, pack the courts, right? Abolish the Electoral College. All things that are very, very important to our American cultural identity as it relates to politics. So, you know what? I don't buy it. But if we think about it, back when National Treasure came out, it was unabashedly proud of the hard work and the sacrifice, the intelligence and the fortitude of America's founders. It spoke about our cultural history with a loving tone that they are not capable of today. And if that movie does get made and it has that tone, it will be roundly rejected by the mainstream media, who will see it as some type of neon sign promoting the idea of colonialism and imperialism. My goodness, how could you, as a loving Democrat, ever have anything nice to say about the country that affords you every right and privilege that you have to live here, to make the money that you make, making movies, making art. As I'm saying here, a country that affords you the ability to become a millionaire making art. How can you love something like that? Oh, because the founders did things that don't resonate with 2026 standards of decorum. Fuck that. Fuck you. Who cares? Nobody. Nobody that with a brain that actually loves the country that they're from, that isn't stupid enough to believe that you can just hate your own history and come out the other side of it okay. It's something unique to what's going on in the West right now. Hatred of where you're from. I love National Treasure. I, for one, never considered stealing the Declaration of Independence, but watching Nicolas Cage do it, golden. $20 super chat from Pat the Plumber says, National Treasure because you, sir, are one. Well, thank you. That's me, a national treasure. Greg Duvier says The Patriot is more American. Yes, but it's all about taste, right? National Treasure, it's like the other thing I love about it, Nicolas Cage is like, he's a little bit more reserved. Like the reason I love National Treasure is the same reason that I love Gone in 60 Seconds. It's a ridiculous movie with an actor who's known for playing ridiculous that weirdly enough works because the actor known for being ridiculous delivers a more measured performance than sometimes he usually does. He's not the same as true in Lord of War in places, right? Like he's Nicolas Cage, but he's not Nicolas Caging at the same level that he usually Nicolas Cages. If you get what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, I love the movie. I don't know if I'll review it on the podcast. You know, God willing, this podcast is still going when this movie finally gets done. I hope I can do this podcast forever. Wouldn't it be cool if I was just like 80 and you guys were still watching and I'm like, Zendaya retired today. She made her final movie. She finally learned how to act because the director finally understood how to get a real performance out of her. And I do that when I'm 80. That would be fantastic. All right, guys. I am done yapping with you guys. Please make National Treasure 3. And Nicolas Cage should always be happy to Nicolas Cage Max. That's what I believe. We should be Nicolas Cage maxing at all times. I'm double checking over on Rumble. Make sure that I didn't miss any super chats here. All right. All caught up there. Hour and 18 minutes, my gosh. Like the funny thing about this is, guys, is like I am like so much more introverted than this podcast would let on. Like, this is the most talking I will do for days at a time. It's so funny when people will say like that I'm itching to talk on here, because it's not like that. It's not like that any other time. High Voltage 75 says, hey, it's not 5 yet. Hey, you must not have been here at the beginning of the show when I said we're not going 2 hours here. I can't do this all on my own. But if you want to have if you want to do a 40-minute hostage party and get me to 2 crisis parties, we'll think about it. We could do that. You get me to 2 crisis parties, we'll do the full hour. Like, if you can get me to 2 crisis parties, because I'll keep going until the super chats run out. Anyway, Passable says, Anway Passable says, introversion is bad, thus you are without the books. I don't know what that means, but I do agree that I need to do better. I need to be less introverted. It would benefit me. Drummer says, do you think Nicolas Cage would have made a good Superman or not? That's dependent on what year that was supposed to be. I mean, I've heard that he was originally... I saw the screen test of him, if we're talking in the 90s, I mean, it probably would have been reminiscent of a Superman movie of its time, right? Like, it would have been a little bit more hopeful. It would have been a little bit more campy. Nicolas Cage does campy. I'm okay with that. But the thing is, you know which one I still haven't seen? I've never seen Superman Returns. I only saw the original. Like, I was never a big Superman fan. Like, I've seen the originals, but never more than once. And I never saw Superman Returns. And I've heard from, like, Superman Returns is weirdly enough one of those weirdly, like, divided opinions. Kind of like a Henry Cavill. Some people really, really take to Brandon Routh's portrayal of Clark Kent. And other people don't care much for it. I don't know. Greg Dubier says, what was the worst thing you saw as a photo tech in people's photos? I saw Valentine's Day photos that I definitely did not want to see. I don't know if they still develop. I don't know if they still develop like instant photos, like instant camera photos at like Target these days, or if it's only digital. But if they do, I implore you, don't do it. Or if you're gonna do do the machine that printed them out instantly, where you didn't have to worry about a tech processing them. Because I saw stuff that I could never unsee. That's right. I saw somebody once ask if I'd ever worked a real job. My friend, that was a real job. It was a real job. Though my favorite job that I ever had was delivering for a medical supply company. I loved that job because it was literally like, it wasn't like an Amazon where you delivered to like 50 or 60 routes. Yeah. Sometimes hundreds of routes, 50 or 60, like hundreds of stops in a day. It wasn't like that. It was like, I delivered to small nursing homes all throughout the outskirts of the state. So I would have like 10 to 20 deliveries in a day, and then additional routes at night if I wanted to keep working. That would be like an hour there, an hour back, and you were driving their car. So it wasn't using your gas or your mileage. So the majority of the drive was just open road. That was like my best. I loved that job. If I could find that job again, I'd see if I could get a second job. Brett is thirsty. Bring another bottle of water to Brett. No, I've got like an army of water bottles over here. There's plenty of water here. What if I had like a secretary? I'm like, ah, bring me a bottle of water. High Voltage 75 says, oh no, I'm sorry, I did get that one. I just want to make sure that I caught up on everything before we get to the end of it here. Christopher Grayson says, I delivered chicken for Charo Chicken. It was better than El Polo Loco. FYI, 1999. Shane H. Wilder says, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? As much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. How is it that I got the first part right because I know the saying. I didn't actually read it, so it wasn't actually good reading on my part. Yeah, I love that job. I also worked at a group home for a bit with developmentally disabled adults working night shift. I didn't do that job for too long because I got offered another job, but that job was heartbreaking, but also, you know, in a lot of ways inspirational. Though I imagine that people who do it for longer get more jaded about it. My first job was at a grocery store pushing carts, which is why I will always be annoyed by people that don't put their cart back beyond just the lack of courtesy. You know, put it in the corral, please. Put it in the corral. All right, National Treasure 3. Look, there's all sorts of stuff about Freemasonry in those movies. A lot of stuff about Freemasonry. All right. Star Nico Light says, Q, I can't even figure out how to talk on YouTube. Plug in a camera, hit record, and just start talking. And then you'll sound stupid like me. But to be fair, one of the things about this job is like you will like if you're doing a job like this correctly, in my opinion, if you're doing a job like this correctly, you should always be your own worst critic. Like I've never once, I don't know enough. Blood Bases talk more about Freemasonry, Brett. I don't know enough about Freemasonry to talk about it in any meaningful way. I could have Aiden Mattis back on hopefully sometime soon to talk about it. But if you're doing your job correctly, at least in my opinion, you're your own worst critic and you're never truly happy with what you put out. Now that might be because we're kind of set up for speed rather than anything else. Like, you know, you go live, you have your discussions on various topics. Hopefully it's interesting to people. You clip it, and hopefully that attracts other people to go check your channel out. But it's like I watch so many YouTubers that are so eloquent and well-spoken on the stuff that they talk about that it's always seen as like I need to get myself on that level with stuff. But also it's the thing where it's like people have their niche. Also, do you guys say niche or niche? I say both. People have their topics that they're particularly interested in. None of the stuff that I'm knowledgeable about or like to or can yammer on about really does well for like a 5-day-a-week podcast. It might do well if I was doing long form retrospectives, but you got to be like really organized and have the ability to do that, which I've never been able to do. But I enjoy it, even if it's not always the easiest job to feel like you did well, which is just kind of how I normally feel about it. All right, I am all caught up on the super chats, guys. All right, it's 4:30 almost. I'm just gonna call it. Thank you guys first and foremost. I don't know how many of you showed up today, but if you did, thank you so much for joining. Each and every day I get to do this podcast is a blessing, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. I get frustrated sometimes, but it never is enough so in a way that I forget that I'm very, very fortunate to do this for work, and I wouldn't be able to do it if some of you guys didn't at least show up and watch these live streams, check out the segments, the channel, support us. So if you are a viewer, new or old, thank you so much. We wouldn't be here without you. If you want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. PCC is live. Normally, when we're doing it right, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, which is noon Pacific. A bit of a note here since I've got you. I will not be able to do it next Tuesday because I have an appointment. I will be gone the whole day. I may be on IRL that night because I'll have to come back the other way, but there will not be an episode of PCC on Tuesday next week, but the other days should be regular. So make sure you check that out, those days out. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at Pop. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Before I even do that. Also, again, I have been having a lot of fun recording these premiere episodes that I'm putting out on Saturday night. I don't know how busy you guys are. I'm sure a lot of you are with family and friends on Saturday in the evenings, but if you are not, I premiere a pre-recorded bonus episode of PCC quite regularly now with special guests where we talk about themes rather than individual news topics. This coming Saturday at 7 p.m., I will be premiering a conversation that I had with Kinsey Schofield. She runs a YouTube channel called Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. I almost said Unlimited Unfiltered. She is a reporter on the Royals, and she also worked for 2 decades as an entertainment reporter, and she did all sorts of press tours. She shares some amazing stories about what it was like to kind of grow up at the dawn of the social media age for pop culture and celebrity. So I would love it if you guys would check that out on Saturday night at 7 p.m. If I'm there, I will check in on all of you guys in the live chat, and you can tell me how bad I'm doing or how good I'm doing. And listen to her stories because she's got a lot of great, she's got a lot of great stories. It's really, really interesting. I hope you will check it out. And if you want to follow the show on social media, Twix at @popculture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with our regularly scheduled program tomorrow. We will see you then. Bye, everybody.